Hey friends, welcome back to the Bald Booktuber. Let me know if you are here and if you can hear me okay. I'm having some mic issues today. Probably nobody's here. So if you drop in, let me know. I would love to have some folks to chat with. Hey, I see some people popped in. Glad you're here with me. Let me know if you can hear me okay and if you're having a great day so far. Zen is here. Hey, man, I appreciate you being here. We initially had planned a Feast for Crows chat, and that ended up falling through. Some folks weren't feeling well, so it's just going to be me today. So I'm glad that you and whoever else is here and has showed up. So, Zen, can you let me know if the audio is okay? Can you hear me fine? You're not going to miss anything, sir. I appreciate you showing up. The Rogue is here. I appreciate it. Often pops into my live streams as well. So thank you for being here. I super appreciate all of the support. Awesome. Zen says I sound fine. I got a new Yeti microphone and I cannot for the life of me seem to get it to work. So we're just rolling with the iPhone audio today. So sorry if it doesn't sound great, but Zen says it sounds fine. So that is good. Cool. Well, I hope all of you, the folks that are here, are having an awesome day and an awesome year thus far. I don't have a ton to talk about, just some odds and ends, how the year is going, kind of what my plans are for the remainder of the year, that sort of thing. So, as I said initially, we were going to do A Feast for Crows live stream, and some folks had to bow out at the last minute due to health issues and other things. So just going to be me today. So if you were looking forward to other folks, my apologies. RJ, I'm great, man. It's been too long, my friend. I hope you are doing well. I hope all is well in your world. I have much YouTube to catch up on, and I have not seen your latest yet, but I saw you publish one. So that is on the watch list. So that'd be coming good. That is good to hear. Thank you, the Rogue. I appreciate it. And Zen is about to start his first Spiffbo Summer Read Along book, readathon book. Which one are you going to be reading? That, of course, is the self-published sci-fi fantasy books. And I don't know where to start with any of that stuff, so let me know what you'll be reading. Cool. Obviously, it's very interactive here, so any comments, any questions, just let me know. I will throw them up on the screen and we will talk about it. Let's see. Seekers, The Winds of Change by Troy Knowlton. Not familiar. I don't know a ton about Self Pub. Is this his debut novel, or does he have other stuff out there? And what is the basic premise for the book? Oh, okay. So it's not part of the. He's not one of the contestants, in other words, for Spiffbo. Okay, fair enough. Well, anxious to see how you feel about it. I don't probably read as much self-pub as I should. I do need to get to The Prophet of Edan, which is Dr. Philip Chase's second novel. I did quite enjoy the first one, The Way of Edan, but I did not get a chance to read the second one yet. I know it was published late last month, the 21st of June, I believe, so I haven't gotten to it yet. Okay, so the book you're reading is his debut and don't know anything at all about it. All right, fair enough. Presumably somebody has told you that it is good, so you have to let me know. I can answer the next question, so that's good. Where should the Rogue or others start with Robert McCammon? So thus far, I've loved everything I've read by McCammon. I started with Swan Song. If you are into post-apocalyptic in any fashion, specifically if you love The Stand, they're not the same book, but there are definitely ways in which they are similar. I think Swan Song is an absolute masterpiece. I think you could do much worse than starting with that one. That's where I started, like I said, the end of 2021. I believe was when I read that one. Right after that, I read Boy's Life, which is quite possibly one of my favorite books of all time. Amazing coming of age story. I out of the McCammon that I've read, I think Boy's Life is probably still my favorite, and one that I will certainly revisit. The audio for both of those is spectacular. If you care about such things, I definitely do. The other McCammon I've read has all been part of the Matthew Corbett mystery series, which I love. I actually just completed Cardinal Black, which is the, I think, 6th or 7th book in the series this last month. I think the 7th. I could be remembering wrong. And the narration for that is absolutely outstanding. Eduardo Ballerini, one of my favorite narrators of all time. Corbett is set in the very, very late 1600s, early 1700s, and kind of the first book, Speaks of the Nightbird, is sort of a echo of the Salem witch trials. I do have a non-spoiler review on my channel if you want to check that out. I have been fascinated and loving that series. If you're into anything Sherlock Holmes, I'd say that it is definitely going to be the type of series for you. And as far as historical fiction goes, it's some of my favorite. Not that I've read a ton, but definitely in terms of what I have read. I've been trying to get people to read Speaks of the Nightbird for a while now since I've read it. And slowly but surely, people are coming around, and there's more and more folks that are getting to that series, which makes me happy. I haven't read outside of that. I do want to get to Stinger, which I've heard great things about. I want to get to Gone South, which I've heard mixed reviews about. And really, I just want to read his whole catalog, but only so many hours in the day, and I need to kind of take these things as they come. So if I had to pick one specific book to start with, Swan Song would be what I would choose. I hope that answered the question. Zen said, enjoyed Boy's Life well enough, but there were so many comparisons to it that I ended up feeling disappointed. I don't honestly think it's anything like it other than being coming of age. I don't, that's not a comparison I would personally make. I don't know what I would compare it to, but it isn't what springs to mind, I guess. It feels like something that could have been written by King in terms of the small town feel and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the it comparison, I think they did you dirty on that one, Zen. I don't think that's what it is. Steve says Boy's Life is his favorite. So good. 100% agree. What an amazing, amazing story. Rogue says Matthew Corbett stuff sounds awesome. Just a little bit pricey. It is. I don't know why. Some of those books are like $14.99 regular retail price. What I would do and what I did is keep an eye on sales because his books go on sale a fair amount. Make sure you're following him within Amazon. You can use the follow author feature. Excuse me, and put stuff on your wish list. And between those two things, when stuff goes on sale, you'll be notified by email. Steve also liked Gone South. I've heard mixed things. I do think I would enjoy it. The setting down in the Deep South, I think, is enough for me that I would enjoy it. But I don't know when I'm going to get to it is the key thing. I think Stinger is probably the next non-Corbett McCammon book that I have prioritized that I really want to get to because it's got like, as far as I know, it's like Alien First Contact stuff, which right in my wheelhouse. Jay says, thanks for taking the hit on Dial of Destiny for us. So yeah, last night the wife and I went and saw the new Indiana Jones movie. Here's what I'll say, and it's been echoed by a lot of folks that I've seen reviews for. That first 15 to 20 minutes is really, really good. For indie fans out there, I think you're really going to enjoy that first sequence. It's a digitally de-aged Harrison Ford, and it actually looks pretty good. He, is chasing Nazis around on this train and looking for some artifacts, and that part's all cool. That sequence is very, very cool. And then we cut to him being a broken, humiliated, awful old dude, which I knew was going to happen, but still I was not in particularly the mood for. Uh, I did not appreciate what they did to his character, even though it is sort of par for the course with Lucasfilms these days, and especially anything involving Harrison Ford. So, pretty overall, I disliked a lot more elements than I enjoyed in the movie. I'm not unhappy that we went and saw it. For those that aren't aware, we have a AMC Stubs A-list pass, so we pay $20 a month each. We get access to virtually unlimited movies in the theater. I say virtually because it's like 3 to 4 movies a week you can do, and that's more movies than we could ever comfortably go to. So in June, it was the 5th movie we saw together, which I don't know if you've kept track of ticket prices, but 5 movie tickets is going to be a lot more costly than $20. So I feel like we got our money's worth. July is a month I'm very excited for. We have part 1 of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, a franchise I adore and have watched and loved since the first movie. I did actually just do a rewatch of the first 6 movies to prepare, so I'm super excited. And the other big thing is Christopher Nolan's new movie, Oppenheimer, about the making of the A-bomb, which I am super stoked for. So July should be a good movie-going month. So long-winded, but yeah, Dial of Destiny, you could pretty safely wait till that comes to streaming, and I don't think you're missing out on too much. Cool. Let me know what you think of McCammon, Rogue. I am a very big fan of his writing. I think he is a master. Yeah, what is fun is that the wife and I think, have decided we're going to go back and rewatch the original trilogy. We may even dip into Crystal Skull, but maybe not. So for sure, we're going to rewatch the original trilogy together and at least relive when Indiana Jones was good. So that should be a good time. We did actually sort of start Raiders of the Lost Ark this morning, but we didn't get too far into it. We had other stuff going on, but a very drastic difference in quality between that first movie and the last movie. It is a little bit depressing to see where the franchise has gone. Cool. June was a pretty good reading month for me. Not fantastic, but pretty good. As I said, I did finish up Cardinal Black, which I had not gotten back to a Corbett novel since Thanksgiving of last year, so it's been a while. I quite enjoyed that. I definitely enjoyed my reread of Dark Age. It's one of my favorite books, and I'm super, super stoked for Lightbringer. Probably as excited as I've been for a book for a while. I haven't been this excited for a new release of a book since the 2 Sun Eater novels we got last year. So very excited, and that comes out end of July, so I will be on top of that. Outside of that, I did a reread of Shaman's Crossing, which is book 1 of Hobbs' non-Realm of the Elderlings trilogy, Soldier Son. Didn't love it, but I thought there were some interesting elements. I thought she did a reasonable job setting up that world and those characters, so I'm anxious to start Forest Meg this month, and hopefully we'll like it more. What else did I read? I read an advanced reader copy of a nonfiction book called The Culture Climb, which was fine. It's about how important it is to institute positive culture in a working environment. And it says it's thoroughly researched, and the buzzwords. Really, it felt like it echoed a lot back to Stephen Covey and John C. Maxwell and other people that have written better over the years. So Dale Carnegie. I think I'm too tough on these types of books these days because I've read the best of the best and nothing else can really compare to it. So it is what it is. And I've started my reread of The Darkness That Comes Before. It's book 1 of the Prince of Nothing trilogy. I have read it before. It's been a long time since it was first released in the late 2000s. I'm enjoying it, but it's going a bit slowly for me. So it's probably going to be finishing that up will be what I start July with. And I am a few behind here, so let me catch back up. In Raiders, if Indiana Jones wasn't there, it would have changed literally nothing. Okay, well, I don't agree, but that's fine. Okay. Never going to top the original trilogy, but could have given us a proper send off. I agree with that. I don't love how legacy characters are being handled by Lucasfilms. So it is what it is. Maybe I'm just not the target demographic for these movies. I don't know. Rogue was in a reading slump for most of June. That stinks. I've been there. Out of it now, but still in the fantasy series slump. Yeah, that can happen. Definitely make sure you are mixing and matching genres to get out of slumps like that. Sometimes just reading something else, something lighter, something quicker, something completely different, something more grounded. Those types of things can help bust you out of a slump. So I would encourage you to read widely to do that. Correct, RJ. Dark Age is phenomenal and I will never let anyone tell me otherwise, the darkest thing I have ever read, and hopefully the darkest thing I will ever read. As Mike from Mike's Book Reviews likes to say, it's not just a clever name. It is a amazing achievement of a book. And when people are, bowing out early on Red Rising, a little part of me kind of dies because I'm like, you haven't gotten to my favorite parts of the series yet. I am one of those bad Red Rising fans that loves the sequel trilogy significantly more than the original. I like the first book fine. Red Rising, the original book, is fine. I thought it was fine on my reread. I like Golden Sun a little bit more. I know that's many people's favorite book in the whole series. For me, I like it a little bit more. I'm not a huge fan, but I like it more. And then of that original trilogy, Morning Star is by far my favorite. But then Iron Gold and Dark Age take it in a completely new direction with new point of views, new stakes. I love all of it. So that is why Lightbringer for me is by far my most anticipated book of this year. TDTCB. Yeah, The Darkness That Comes Before. Okay, sorry. I'm not good with acronyms and abbreviations. Yes, The Darkness That Comes Before is quite good. I am told that the series gets better and better as you go. So I'm looking forward to that. My friend Brent is a hardcore fan of it. I know RJ has read a lot of it as well and is a big fan. Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, of course, speaks highly of it. Joanna really loves that original trilogy. So lots of people whose opinions I trust think that Baker is a master. And I've quite enjoyed it this time around. Let's see. Started incorporating other genres. That's what I did when I was getting back into reading. That's a good idea. I mean, it's easy to fall down the fantasy rabbit hole. That is correct. It's still and will forever be my favorite genre. That doesn't change. But it can feel a little bit repetitive at times, depending on what you're reading and how frequently and those kinds of things. It especially can get to me at times when I'm reading multiple fantasy series at once and they feel like they bleed and blend into each other. That's not a great experience. So got to be careful of that. My friend Jack is here. It is wonderful to see you, my friend. You are starting First Law. I don't if I had to put money on it, I don't think it's going to be your thing. I hope I'm wrong. It's 100% my thing. I love everything First Law. Abercrombie is my dude, but I am holding out hope, crossing my fingers, and anxious to hear your thoughts. And I feel horrible about this, my friend, but I am way behind on your videos as well. So I'm behind on everyone's videos. I'm a terrible person. I will get to it. I'll make it up to everybody. I just don't know when. What is that? Golden Sun kind of overhyped. Iron Gold's my favorite. Okay, cool. So it looks like you're kind of on that same train where you think that it improves with each book, which I definitely do. I think Golden Sun is great. I think probably it's that first I don't know, 20% or so that I just have a little bit of trouble getting invested in. And I think that's a me problem, but obviously that ending is unbelievable. Jay says sequel series so good. Agree. Don't feel like it was made just to throw a new story. I agree. I think that dealing with the repercussions of the decisions of the first books and dealing with the fallout of these large scale intergalactic wars and that kind of stuff makes it fascinating. I love all of it. So I am always happy to see other people invested in what's going on and what Brown is doing because I think it is tremendous. I love all of it. Abercrombie is the greatest of all time. I agree. Well, he's not my favorite author. He's my third favorite, probably, behind Hobb and George R. R. Martin. But what a dude. I definitely love Abercrombie. In my mind, the greatest humor that has ever been written on any page ever. I think he writes humor better than anyone. All right. Zen says Morningstar is by far the best of the first three. I agree with that. Still my favorite thus far. Okay, that's fair. If horrible things happen to a certain descendant of Selenius in the last two books, I could see it being top. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm taking the story as it comes. That's fine. The thing about Morningstar that I love is all of the Obsidian stuff. The Obsidians are one of my favorite groups. I love all that stuff. There is also something that hits me horribly, horribly hard in that book. And I tend to love books that hurt me. And that one definitely does. So Morningstar is great. Drew says, hope you're having a good day. I am, man. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Currently reading Clash of Kings. Fantastic on the reread. How about the Cubbies getting back in the discussion? Well, kinda. All right, so it's Cubs time. That's fine. So this has been an exceedingly frustrating year. Going into the season, I basically held out no hope that they would do anything. But I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm going to watch some games, see what happens. I'm excited about the Dansby signing. We're going to see what happens. Maybe the rotation will be okay, and it largely has been. Maybe the bullpen will come together, which has happened of late. June was exceptional. The bullpen has the third best ERA in baseball in June, but it was so disgustingly bad before that it almost isn't something to celebrate. It's just been consistent inconsistency, which is painful to watch. The pieces are not coming together in a meaningful way most of the time. They had that great stretch right before they went to London to play the Cardinals where they had won, I don't remember what it even was now, 11 of 13 or something like that. And we're gaining a little bit of ground and we're gaining towards being 500. And then it just fell off. They won that first game big against the Cardinals in London. They were winning big in the second game and everything just blew apart. And then they lost three more in a row. Finally, a good game yesterday, which was nice to see. Big win against Cleveland, but when is the fallout going to happen? Like I have no trust in David Ross's ability to keep this team on an even keel and keep winning at a consistent clip. So I don't know the answer. I don't know what Jed needs to do as the president of operations. I am terrified that they're going to sell off pieces again, and I'm going to lose players that I'm coming to like. I think that's going to happen, and that's going to stink. This is what it is to be a Cubs fan in 2023. This is my life. No, I can't have joy for more than 5 minutes before this team hurts me. So it is what it is. I do think that if the consistency comes up a little bit, they have a chance to at least make the postseason, which would be nice. It's been a few years again. But if they can do anything beyond that, I don't know. They have two of the best pitchers in the game with Stroman and Justin Steele, who was great again yesterday, and they just are not surrounding it with enough pieces. So we'll see. I am cautiously optimistic that something good could happen, but mostly pessimistic, which is not a good place to be as a fan. So thank you for asking. Long-winded, as I tend to be when talking about the Cubs. but I appreciate it. Cool. July plans. So I will be reading the final book that we have so far of the Matthew Corbett series. That is King of Shadows. That came out in late 2022. So I'm super stoked for that. I think that Cardinal Black ended in a unique way that sets up some interesting things for the future. So I'm excited for that. I'll be reading book 2 of the Soldier Son trilogy, Forest Meg, which I have heard pretty good things about for those folks that like the non-Realm of the Elderling stuff. So always good to read some Hobb. I'll be reading, I'll be finishing up the last 2/3 of The Darkness That Comes Before and reading The Warrior Prophet. So those are big rocks that I'm tackling. And finally, I don't know if you're still here or not, RJ, but finally, I think it's time for us to do our buddy read of East of Eden by John Steinbeck. So it's supposed to be the two of us, Joanna, Kyle from Read by Kyle, and Alex from Tall Guy Reads. Supposed to be the 5 of us, and hopefully we can do some live discussions if we end up liking it. I know that is a favorite book of Baron from Your Brain on Books. I have heard mostly positive things about it. Not everybody loves it, but mostly positive. And it's a classic, which means there's a good chance I haven't read it. So if anyone would like to join along and read with us, happy to do that. So those are kind of my big rock plans for the immediate future, as well as I'm so excited about this. I didn't even mention it, as well as obviously Lightbringer comes out on the 25th, and everything else will cease to exist at that point as I consume utterly everything in that book. I'm super stoked. It's back to just Tim Gerard Reynolds as the narrator. He's one of my favorite narrators of all time. I can't wait. So I'm super stoked. RJ says, can't wait to read Matthew Corbett. I really think you will like it, sir. I am interested to see your takes on it. It is not perfect by any means. There are some very odd elements that he gets into, especially that first book. But I have nothing I've read so far in that series. I've read 7 books. Nothing's been less than 4 stars for me so far. So I have thoroughly loved it. The first book is a masterpiece in my opinion. The second book, in my opinion, is even better. So good stuff. East of Eden, excellent. Yes, you're on board. Kyle was dragging me on another server yesterday saying that I was the holdup. So time we rectify that. So I am excited. RJ is so excited about East of Eden that he forgot to mention it in his TBR video. So that happens. Hopefully we'll get to it. Hopefully we will all love it. Steve wants to read it as well. So that is good. Awesome. Yeah. So Jack, I know you are a much bigger classics person than I am. Would love to get your take on it. Have you read any Steinbeck? I've read nothing from him. So not Of Mice and Men. I haven't read Grapes of Wrath. Apparently had a very limited education and have not read any Steinbeck at all. So for those folks in the chat, Jack or others that have read any, please let me know what you think of his writing. Take a quick sip and a quick break because I'm talking too fast. I get a little wound up. Yeah, Of Mice and Men I know is short. I just have not gotten to it. Is it good is the real question. Jack had a better education than me, which is not surprising. Still smarter than me. So if you're not subscribed to her channel, you're doing it wrong. Please get subscribed immediately. She's awesome. And someone I know in real life, which is very cool. She read it in high school, but remembered little about it. I love rereading because my appreciation is an adult and much greater. Cool. Join us. That'd be fantastic. Cool. Yeah, if you need to know what classics to read, Jack is the channel for you. If you need to know what classics to read, I'm the wrong guy to go to. My classics knowledge and what I've read is so short as to be laughably bad. I pretend to be someone who loves books, and yet I haven't read so many of the books that you're supposed to read before you die. So I will get to them, but I start reading something like that and I'm like, where's the dragons? And that's a me problem. So cool. So Steve has read both of Mice and Men and Grapes of Wrath. That is good. And he's looking forward to East of Eden. Yes, it is humiliating and embarrassing that I've not read The Count of Monte Cristo. I need to do that, and I will do that. Yeah, that needs to happen. Isn't it? It's confusing though, right? Like there's like multiple translations, and some editions are like twice the length of others, and so I'll defer to you. Which edition and set should I read for this book? What's the right one? Cool. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about? Cool. Reading Three Musketeers right now. That's Alexandre Dumas, right? Cool. I know who wrote books. I just couldn't tell you anything that happens in those books. Yeah, Jack wants to know how you're liking it. That is a good question. How are you liking it? Steve also would like to know. I would like to know. Tell us, Rogue, are you liking it? It should be mentioned, if you don't have it on your calendar yet, make sure you are tuning in tonight to Mike's Book Reviews. He is doing his Saturday nights, and Jack will be on there along with Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads and Joanna. So a wonderful cast of individuals, all friends of mine, I am fortunate to say. Wonderful people. So please make it a point to be there. I am going to try and watch live. I don't know if we have plans that may impede that or not, but if I'm not able to watch live, I will definitely be tuning into the replay because that sounds awesome. Zen says, that tells me you still haven't listened to the Homewood. I have not. That is correct. I don't know if that matches up to which edition, and it adds to my confusion. But yes, I know that you are a huge fan of that narration, Zen, so I'm not sure if that'll be my first read or a reread. Rogue is enjoying it so far, so that is good news, which is not surprising. The Three Musketeers has endured in popular art for a reason, so that is good. Starting a petition. Great. Let me know what to read and when. I will do that. Philip is here. Dr. Philip, how are you, sir? I feel horrible because I have not gotten to The Prophet of Edan yet, but I will. I hope everybody is buying your books and reading them and reviewing them. I really, really enjoyed The Way of Edan. And yeah, it is great to see you. I appreciate you being here. Paramita is here. Tough question, fantasy or sci-fi, and if both, why? If you're asking me to choose which I prefer, fantasy is my preference to literally any other genre. I do like science fiction a lot. I think if I have a beef with science fiction, it's sometimes that the characters are not the most central theme or most important element of the story. And characters for me are very important. I like to see them grow over time. I love what publishers tend to hate these days, which is long running series where people change over time and do things like that. So I love the epic sweeping multi-book series. So which fantasy delivers to me. And just in general, I like the idea of escaping to a world that literally could not exist in our world. So if I have to choose between the two, fantasy it is, although I quite enjoy sci-fi as well. Good question. I believe it is. I'm sure Philip can tell us, but yes, I believe Prophet of Edan is part of the Spiffbo deal. Anytime, sir. It is means a lot to me that you are here, so thanks for dropping in. Based off your question, how do you define? Yeah, the lines can certainly blur between fantasy and sci-fi. In my mind, and it doesn't make it correct, But in my mind, I often see fantasy as something that um, we would see as impossible in our world, whereas sci-fi tends to explore the limits of possibility. So it tends to explore things that potentially could happen, like intergalactic space travel or even time travel and these kinds of things. Whereas we know that there are not dragons in our world, so that's how I would see them as different. However, there is definitely blurriness. My One of my favorite series, Sun Eater, is defined as science fantasy, where it is very science fantasy themed in terms of the space travel and these types of things, but also has elements that are more central to classic fantasy, like character development and arcs and uh, things that we would see as magic because we can't distinguish it as anything else. So it's not a hard and fast line, but that's sort of how I look at it. What is possible versus what is impossible. Let's see. I'm behind, which is good news. It means people are commenting. Steve says he's reading The Count of Monte Cristo later this year with Hardcore Literature Book Club and looking forward to it. Awesome. I hope it goes well for you. I, again, have been informed that I need to read it, so I will make it a priority. Philip says, for Spiffbo, you're required to enter a standalone. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. But I can't enter anyway since that makes perfect sense. So I had forgotten Philip was a judge of Spiffbo, and it makes sense that you're not allowed to enter as a contestant when you're also a judge. So awesome. Any great stuff you are reading in that competition so far that you'd like to share with us, Philip? That'd be great. Zen figured that was the case. I'm doing a readathon on the Keymark Discord this month, so I probably won't get to it till next month. Okay, fair enough. And you were rereading Golden Fool, which I love. Excellent. Golden Fool is fantastic. And Philip classically adored the Tawny Man trilogy in his first read through of it, which makes me very, very happy. Paramita has an easy question. A Storm of Swords or Assassin's Fate? That is not as easy as you think it is. Storm of Swords is my favorite of the two books that you mentioned, although I have consistently said Assassin's Fate is the best book I have read since my first read of Storm of Swords. So there's sort of a 1A, 1B type of situation, although I do slightly prefer Storm of Swords. Kingdoms of Death versus Dark Age. For me, Kingdoms of Death, simply because I love everything in Sun Eater more than I love everything in Red Rising. That also is closer than one would think, but just in general, I much prefer Rocchio's writing to Pierce Brown's. I much prefer the character arcs and development. I much prefer the series. That's not taking anything away from Red Rising, where I'm also a huge fan, but it is saying how much I adore Sun Eater and want everyone to read it. Good questions. That's right. Yeah, book 3 is only 2 months away because Philip is drowning us in his work, which is good. We appreciate it, but it is hard to keep up. So I will have completed a Philip Chase trilogy, read them by the end of this year, which is astonishing to think about when I just had learned that he was writing this trilogy and getting ready to publish it last year. So congrats to you, Philip. That is amazing. And congrats to all of us because it is a great series. Let's see. I do not love everything. That is incorrect. That is very incorrect. I love what I love, and there are many things that other people enjoy that I don't think that highly of. I will say that in general, on my channel, I talk about the stuff that I love. So it probably predominantly feels like I'm loving everything, but that's not the case. I have a spot in my heart, certainly, for anything Hobb related, anything Martin related, anything Abercrombie related, where I just seeing their name on the book automatically makes me love the book, and it takes a lot for me not to. Same could be said for Rocchio. But that doesn't mean that I love everything. Oh, you're talking about, okay. I misread. You're talking about Philip loving everything. I think it's probably a similar situation. I don't think he loves everything either. Excellent. You're wearing your Sun Eater shirt today. I have two of them. I didn't wear one today, but I've got a gray one and a red one. So, yes, good to see. Yeah, yeah, I corrected myself, but you are correct, Zen. You said Philip loved everything. You're correct. I get a little testy because that's a criticism I've had leveled at me as well, and I don't agree with it. Although predominantly, I would say I do enjoy more things than I don't. Yes, I have actually talked about this before, Rogue. I do want to get to the culture. It is one of Rockio's favorite series. I think I would quite enjoy it. My big problem is one that has nothing to do with the books. It's the inconsistency in the publishing here in the US. So I can get Kindle versions of all but like two of the books. I can get Audible versions of some but not others of the books. And my preference as always is to immersively read. So I would like to have both Kindle and Audible versions of everything so I could do that. I have considered at times getting the paperbacks, the trades. They look nice on a shelf, but I don't have a lot of shelf space, and I'm not clamoring to spend $150 plus shipping at this point in time to do that. So, so I haven't done that either. I do want to get to them certainly. It does seem like something I would have a lot of interest in. And I know that there have been people saying read it out of order and this kind of stuff, and I just would do my normal publication order always because that's how hard-headed I am. I do want to get to it. It just hasn't happened yet. Yeah, I figured as much. Yeah, I think we're similar in that respect, Philip, where we have some authors that for us just immediately warm memories and happy feelings, and predominantly we want to like their work, and I think that can, at least for me, it can flavor my opinion of the overall work. But again, I think this goes back to what Philip chooses to talk about on his channel, Zen. I don't I don't think this is because he necessarily loves everything he reads. I think it's because he tends to read things and review them when he likes them. Because as a fellow author, it is not great to go on and criticize your peers. I don't think so. I could be wrong. I'm sure you could, Jack. Jack says she could give me books I wouldn't enjoy. That is a longer list than you would expect. Jack also tends to read genres that I just am not interested in whatsoever, like romance. Just not my thing. So that's not a knock on anyone that likes that stuff or enjoys reading those books or has favorite authors within that genre. It just isn't for me. She did get me to read a Colleen Hoover book, Verity, and I thought it was good. It's not an author I'm excited to return to, and I wouldn't say I overwhelmingly had a great time, but it was a good book. I thought that I could see where the author is popular and why she has some street cred in that particular genre. So I can't go to my local Barnes & Noble without seeing 7,000 Colleen Hoover books out. So it was good to get one under my belt. I'm not unhappy that I read it. Yeah, that's fair. Your review of Poppy War was mixed. Not to review if yep, that makes sense. I read the first book of Poppy War and I thought it was good. I haven't been excited enough to continue. Maybe at some point I will, but I've heard that it goes downhill from there. And if that was the peak, I don't know that I'm that excited about that series. Let's see. Paramita says, more than 15 plus series, I'm not a fan of anything that might be shelved as dark fantasy. What are some of the dark fantasy that you've read? And do you consider dark fantasy to be the blend between fantasy and horror? Is that how you're defining it? I have heard Brian Lee Durfee's Five Warrior Angels classified as dark fantasy, and I quite enjoyed that. I have heard The Dark Tower classified as dark fantasy, and I love that. So I think it just depends on what you've read and what were the elements of it you didn't like, as far as what it is. Let's see. Zen says, funny you should say that. I pretty much, Zen, that's correct. Zen does love most things when I hear him talking about things. Hated the ending of Burning God. Okay, fair enough. Is that book 3, right, of Poppy War? Or am I thinking of something else? Issues with the ending as well as, okay, fair enough. Yeah, if you guys are trying to talk me into the Poppy War, you're not doing a very good job, so that's all right. If you're trying to steer me away from it, good job. Certain nonverbal cues in your reviews discussions for us long-term viewers might be a little bit of a giveaway, but mostly it's very well concealed. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so you're in Ireland, so you're getting the UK versions of that stuff. I think there are probably ways that I could snag the UK Kindle and Audible editions, but it requires some steps and some footwork and a potential ban from Amazon, which I'm not willing to risk. So I'll probably avoid those steps. But yeah, the culture is something I would love to read. It's something that I've had on my TBR for a few years now, and I think Ian and Banks would be up my alley. So one of these days. Okay, yeah, I thought so. I've heard mixed things about books 2 and 3. So some people love each book more than the last. Some people say it goes downhill. It's not a consistent thread, which maybe is okay. Maybe it means she was taking risks and doing some things outside of the norm, which I respect in an author. So, but yeah, just probably not my thing. I plead guilty. Awesome. All right, what else? So Paramita says dark fantasy because I didn't want to use the maligned grimdark. Really liked 5 word. Oh, good. I am glad when anyone loves Durfee's stuff. Dark Tower, not for you. That makes sense. Dark Tower is a very strange series. I quite enjoyed the first book. I love books 2 through 4, some of my favorite books ever. I quite enjoyed book 5. Had a lot of trouble with book 6 and 7. I ended up really enjoying the ending, but that first half of book 7, for whatever reason, was a painful read for me. Painful in the sense that I wasn't enjoying myself. But I ended up loving where it ended. It's definitely a top 10 series for me, but I totally get it when people say that it's not for them. Don't like grimdark except Song of Ice and Fire if it is grimdark. I would consider A Song of Ice and Fire grimdark. I always have. I would say that it moved the genre widely in a different direction than it had been previously. And I tend to prefer gray characters to straight good and evil. Obviously, there are series that I enjoy that do the good and evil thing exceedingly well. But for me, I like to have not a clear delineation between hero and villain. It's just my preference. I think it more conforms to what I think of as reality when there are people that are sort of on the continuum versus on either end of the spectrum. Solid argument that it could, yeah, I always have. I've always seen it in that fashion, although I also say if you were to point blank ask me to define grimdark, I don't think I could. So, is what it is. Zen thinks it definitely is. Really? Book 3 hasn't come out on Kindle over there yet. That's crazy. Excuse me. Yeah, the book came out in October of last year after significant long-term delays by the publisher. And I think they were stringing my boy Bleed along for more than a year on that deal. Finally, it came out. I'm bummed out because we don't have the audio for it yet. And it's Tim Jard Reynolds, who I love. So I'll be doing a reread of probably the entire series at some point. But 100% I'll be rereading The Lonesome Crown once we have that audio. Aside from First Law, it's probably the poster child. Maybe. I think you could probably say Abercrombie and Mark Lawrence would be kind of the primary pillars, I would say, right now of grimdark fiction. There are certainly authors that are in that classification, but not as widely read or as widely purchased as the two of them. Zen and Lord of the Rings. Let's see what he says. Respect it. I mean, that's one way to go. I don't rate things based on their reputation. I rate them based on my enjoyment, but I get it. So definitely everything that Tolkien has written for me is 5 stars that I've read, but that's because of my love for it, not because of my reverence for what it does for the genre. But I get it. Makes sense. Jason, good to see you, my friend. Hope all is well. It looked like the Twins are hanging in there, so I hope that continues for you. As long as the White Sox don't win that division, I'm happy, and no other team is someone I would cheer for. So go Twins. Correct. A Song of Ice and Fire is so good. That is correct. Oh, interesting. I like Tad Williams of what I've read. I read the first 2 books of Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I read part of Two Green Angel Tower and fell off a little bit last year. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, just because I had other things going on. But I do need to get to that for sure. I would like to continue in that series. I know he's published some sequel stuff. I'd like to continue that, and I want to read Otherland as well, which I think I would be down with. So someday, maybe even the Shadow March stuff. I've heard that's good too. Jack is filming a vlog right now. What is Grimdark Fantasy, and is it for me? I am interested to see this one. All I'll say is that I'm the wrong guy to ask. My friend Jake Bishop, I think, has he says something that makes me laugh every time. So he says, for every fantasy book out there, someone will make the case that it's grimdark, and someone will make the case that it's YA. Which is ridiculous because often it is neither. But for each book, there is someone out there, there's a reader out there that will say it's one or the other. When he says that, it makes me laugh. All right. Second Apocalypse is the darkest fantasy you've ever read, which makes me very happy because I will be getting to that this year. I like dark stuff, so I think that will be up my alley. All right. Part of that rating was how it was crafted. He literally meticulously figured out timing and moon phases. Yeah. So famously or infamously, I'm not sure which, Tolkien was a scholar. He was a professor, and he spent like 25 years working on the world building of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings before he ever published a word of it. So on a recent live stream with Rockio, I said, you just gotta, if you're an aspiring writer, you just gotta put in your 25 years and set up your world and you're good to go, right? And he laughed at that because that obviously isn't how these things work typically. He definitely did some things then that aspiring writers now, it would be hard for them to replicate. I'll just say it that way, and earn a living at the same time. Books weren't divided as they were. It would have been better. I like the Aragorn better than Sam and Frodo. Okay, that's fair. Sam is one of my favorite characters in all of fiction. I love Samwise Gamgee. I think his loyalty to and friendship toward Frodo is one of my favorite things that I've ever read. So I am a big, big Sam fan. So anytime he's on the page, I am quite happy. Only read the first trilogy, and it broke my brain. I'm not in a good way. Fair enough. I will see when I get there. I've only read The Darkness That Comes Before so far, and I'm rereading that right now. Let's see. Are the Twins still under 500? I mean, I don't know that you're going to need to be 500 to win that division. division is bad. So, hopefully they will do enough to win the division. They'll do enough to have a decent postseason run for you, and maybe even more. So, go Twins! I am on board. That would have probably helped. Fair enough. Scouring the Shire is a great chapter. Paramita feels the same. Is it the same? Man, I can't imagine any team having the same amount of losses as the Cubs. It just has been painful. Philip has to go. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. And we will see you. Hopefully, I'll be there tonight for Mike's Saturday Night Nights. I appreciate you taking the time to drop by. Always a pleasure, my friend. Steve also says, go Twins. Go Twins. One of the best parts of Lord of the Rings is male friendship rules my heart. Yes, indeed. Just friendship as a theme, fellowship as a theme in general. Love all that stuff. In Lord of the Rings, I was captivated as a young man in junior high school, and I just always have been. I did rereads with the Andy Serkis narrations in 2021 and had a phenomenal time. The new Andy Serkis recorded Silmarillion is out, and I need to get to that. So that needs to be on the list somewhere as well for me to read. Never been a fan of traveling fantasy. That's fair. It's a big part of my love of Wheel of Time. Okay. Yeah. The quick travel in Wheel of Time has never been one of my favorite aspects of it. I like how it's handled earlier in the series, if you know what I'm talking about with the portal stones and stuff. And then later on when Rand's just snapping his fingers and going something like I don't love that, but I guess the magic can do whatever he needed it to do, so that's fine. Wheel of Time, I love, although I certainly have issues with it. It is outside of my top 10, although I will always treasure the time I spent reading it back in 2020 during the pandemic. I had previously read the first 3 books, and it was great to get back to that. Of the Jordan novels, book 4 is my favorite. Shadow Rising, I love all the stuff he does with the Aiel in that book. I think that's all awesome. I love Teleron Ryud, or whatever the name of the dream world is. So I love all that stuff. I also quite enjoyed Night of Knives. I think that is spectacular. That was Jordan's last book, published as he was dying. And then I love all of the Sanderson books. All 3 are. I'm a terrible Wheel of Time fan because the Sanderlands trilogy is my favorite aspect of the whole thing. So I have some issues with Jordan's writing that I think are remedied when Sanderson is writing, but that's just a personal preference. Chaz, my man, how are you, sir? Can't stay long. That's all right. I appreciate you popping in. I am doing well, my friend. I hope all is good with you. And we will have to do something on each other's channels one of these days. That is going to happen. So look forward to that. Paramita says hello. Oh, what did I say? I said Knight of Knives. I'm sorry. Yes, Knife of Dreams. Knight of Knives is Ian C. Esselmont's first book in the Malazan book of the whatever it is, the offshoot series. Yes, Knife of Dreams. My bad. KOD. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Sanderlands is also your favorite. Yeah, I think the challenge with Wheel of Time and trying to encourage people to read it is if they are not immediately invested, it's really hard to get them to go along for the ride. And for me, the ride is okay, but that ending I think is as perfect as it gets. Indeed, sir. Pyramid is good. Yeah. Novels of, I will always say Malazan, but it apparently is Malazan or Malaz. I can't say it. So I'll always say Malazan. That's how I pronounce it. Yes, Ian C. Esselmont's books. I read it a long time ago when it was first published. I thought it was fine. Of the Esselmont books that I've read, I read the first two of the Path to Ascendancy. Well, I guess it's going to be more than a trilogy now, and I like those a lot more. I don't know if I agree with that or not. So what Zen is saying is that even if one dislikes the first 10 books of Wheel of Time, it's worth it to stay on board for those final 4 books. That's a lot of time investment, and that's a lot of putting off books that someone might rather read for these. So I'm not sure about that. I'd have to sit on that and think about that a little bit, but maybe. But I think I'll just chalk it up to a series I'm very happy I read, a series I would recommend to people to try, but not one that I would overwhelmingly say this is a must for every fantasy fan to read, and just kind of leave it at that. Awesome. Rogue's going to be restarting Wheel. So restarting in the sense that you have completed it before, or you've gotten a decent amount in and you're starting where you left off? Question mark. All right. We got time for maybe a few more questions, and then I'll need to be wrapping it up. But I appreciate everybody that dropped in. I thought it was just going to be me talking to myself, so I'm I'm happy that people showed up and have contributed and made my day here. So, anybody have any last minute questions or comments or things they want to talk about before we drop off here in a few minutes? Yeah, I remember it wasn't really working for you, Chaz. You said you softy enough that the more I think about getting back to it, the more I'm not interested. So my question would be, how far in did you get? Because what I tend to tell people, and people get mad at me for saying this, but this is what I tell people. I say if you're not invested by the end of book 4, it's probably not going to be your thing. There are certainly been people that have proven me wrong about that, like famously Petrick hated book 4 and took years off from it and went back and ended up really liking book 5 and book 6. But to me, the scope and the elements and the things that he talks about in book 4, if that's not something somebody's into, I personally can't imagine loving the series. Maybe someone would like it, but I can't imagine loving it. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'm just not in the business of reading a massive series that I don't love. So reattempting. Okay, fair enough. I'll be anxious to see what you think. You know, it is not a series for everybody. It is going to be your mileage may vary situation, certainly. And it always is with a series of that length. So I'll be interested to see what you said. Yeah, Paramita did read all 14 and didn't end up enjoying it, famously. Paramita has the reputation of being kind of the opposite of me. People accuse her of hating everything instead of loving everything, which it is not true in either case, but it does make me laugh a little bit on that. Dropped in Red Malzahn and said, that's fair. I also quite enjoy Malzahn Book of the Fallen. I read through that in 2021. At least the Book of the Fallen, the main 10. I had read parts of it before that, but in 2021, I finally read the whole thing. That is also outside my top 10, but I enjoy it a lot. Let's see. Got some more comments. Read the first 2. Okay, fair enough. For some people, book 2 is their favorite of the whole series. Mike from Mike's Book Reviews is in that camp. I've seen others that say that. I love book 2. I think there's some great elements in there. But yeah, I would say if you are considering it, I would see what book 3 and book 4 have to offer for you. And if it's not for you, then it's an easy put it down and don't pick it back up. If it is something you're enjoying, then it's worth taking the journey, like Zen said. I agree with you, Jason. Yeah, I wouldn't either. for me, for Wheel of Time, there are 3 or 4 books that I actively disliked. And it's books 7 through 10, which are consistently called the slog, what have you. I went in, I thought, with an open mind, and I didn't have a good time with those books at all. At various times while reading those books, I'm like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not in for the long haul, but I pushed through and I'm happy I did. Last time I talked to you into trying it, you DNF book 4. I heard the old Cubs player Wayne Terwilliger. I don't know Wayne Terwilliger. What year was this, and what team did he play on? Or not what team, but like what how long was he with the Cubs, and what position did he play? I'm not familiar. In general, my knowledge of the Cubs prior to 1984 is pretty suspect. I know the big time players, and that's about it. I don't know a lot else about those teams. I can imagine they would have never heard of Wayne Terwilliger. Yes. Proud to report that I binge read Wheel of Time and the main 10 Malazan books in the same month. All right. That seems all right. I can't. That seems like a superpower. I can't do that, but I'm glad it worked out for you. Let's see. Don't see. Yeah, I think. Again, I think this is where we have a slight disagreement, because if someone is not on board with Wheel of Time, the themes and the concepts and the magic involved and that kind of stuff, up to that point, then it doesn't matter how good the climax or ending is going to be. It's not going to work for them. If someone was on board for the whole journey and is excited to see where things are going, then that ending is about as perfect as it could be. That part I agree with. But it isn't the type of thing that could fix or recontextualize the stuff before it, in my opinion. On a scale of moderately hyped to taking holiday on release day, what are your feelings for A, wins, B, next main novel? So famously, I love taking off days from work when a book I love releases, or a book I'm looking forward to. So I'm probably not going to do that with Lightbringer this time around, because I'm going to save up some of my PTO days. But yes, when Winds comes out, I'll be taking a week off. That's just going to happen. When the next Sun Eater novel, Disquiet Gods, comes out, I'll be taking at least a couple of days off. I am super, super excited for that one. He's taken the series in a direction that I love. We're getting more and more of the alien species, which I am excited about. I love all that stuff. So, yeah, I'm ready and primed to go. But yeah, when Winds comes out, that's probably a week off type of deal. I don't want to do anything else or talk about anything else when that happens. Terwilliger was a coach for the Twins, so we have a Cubs Twins tie-up. Very nice. I have never heard of this dude. I'm going to have to look him up after the stream. Mads is here. Hey, Mads. Finishing up editing a video. Awesome. Can't wait to watch it. Chilling, taking it easy this afternoon. Heart is with you, my friend. I hope things are going okay. We are happy to see you, but also I know you got a lot going on right now. So, okay. So also, there we go. Late 40s, early 50s, second base, only a few seasons. Fair enough. Okay. So basically he was playing second base for the Cubs before my parents were born, and I'm an old dude. So, yeah, I'll have to look back. I think we're on the same team. Oh, cool. Never said it was a good decision. Acts of lunacy sounds about right. Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to get into it another time. But the whole speeding through things to get them finished, I don't know. I'm sure there's value to that somewhere, but for me, it would really curb my enjoyment of the thing. That's fair. The prologue of Wheel of Time is outstanding. Okay, that's fair enough. I've not watched that video. I probably won't, but I'm not a watch that type of negativity type thing. That doesn't appeal to me. I like positive videos. Cool. All right. Well, I am getting the signal. I think I need to wrap things up here, but I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I'd like to sort of make this a semi-regular thing. I don't know if this will be a semi-regular Saturday thing or not, but if people are here to talk with me about books and other things, it is something I'd enjoy doing. So let me know in the comments after the video if that's something you'd be open to. And if there's an audience for it, I'll be down for it. But appreciate you all. Thank you so much for all of your support. And I'll sign off now with, as always, publication order always, my friends.